Okay, let's go to chapter 3. So turn in your Bible to 1 Peter 3. We've finished 2. And we're going to learn about talking about Jesus. And most of you probably thought this was an evangelism seminar. But Peter, who said in chapter 2 that we're supposed to boldly proclaim the praises of him who called us into faith, it's interesting how he shows us to talk about Jesus. And this is my title. And this is what I wrote in my journal. As we seek to reflect Jesus everywhere, we are ready to talk about Jesus each day, no matter what the cost. Where do I get that? Look at verse 15. It says, "But sanctify the Lord," this is chapter 3, verse 15, "in your hearts, always be ready to give a defense to everyone who asks you a reason for the hope that is in you with meekness and fear." Do you see how this ties together? In chapter 1, we learned about how to live in this hope. In chapter 2, we learned how to not ruin the hope by being submissive and ready for whatever the Lord brings. In chapter 3, he said, as you live in this hope, people are going to ask you why. And all of us are supposed to be living this kind of life that the governor of Bithynia was writing about. The unsaved Roman governor described the Christians like he was reading the epistles. He said, they're hospitable, they're loving, they're sacrificial. He also added, they don't commit adultery, and they don't steal, and they don't lie. He went through all these things that a governor notices that group of people. And so verse 15 says, when you're living that way, people will say to you, why? I mean, Bonnie and I were not married more than, December to January. We weren't even married a month when we were sitting at breakfast in Los Angeles, and our waiter came to us and leaned over the table, and he said, I watched you every morning for 2 weeks. He said, what drug are you two on? You are high all the time. I mean, that was his kind of like day of Pentecost. They thought they were drunk. He thought, in his context, because he was a drug addict, we were high because we had hope. I mean, and so we had a chapter 3, verse 15 moment. We could give him our hope. Why he would think we're high. And you know what we did at breakfast? We read the New Testament. Bonnie and I, our first year of marriage, we read a chapter a day, 250, the work week, out loud together at breakfast. And we would pay 99 cents to do it at the pantry. And the waiter was watching us. He was watching a couple that looked at each other, that talked to each other, that held hands, and he said, you're high. Okay. Which means it was not normal. It was unusual. But no matter what the cost. I mean, when I went to Hazlitt High School in Michigan here, I used to read my Bible at lunch. And they would throw French fries at me. Because, I was just, what else to do at lunch? And so I asked the principal, Tony Waldron, I said, can I use the Latin room? I don't want French fries thrown at me. I want to read my Bible. And he said, anybody wants to use the Latin room, it's dead language, you can use it. And so I started eating my lunch and they're reading my Bible. And within a week, there was 20 of us. And within another week, there ended up being 100 of us in there. And so I thought, I don't want to eat. I started teaching. But they made fun of us. They called us, because we were these strange people reading our Bible at lunch.